Luke 22 tells us, "When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table. And he said to them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And then he took the bread, and he gave thanks, and he broke it. And he gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, and saying, "This cup is the new covenant of my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. And Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves." When Jesus and his disciples would have gathered for the Passover, there would have been an attitude of celebration and hope in the room. Here they were in the upper room sharing a meal that they had shared with each other for the past 3 years. It was a meal that each of them have known well, even from their childhood. It was a celebration of God's faithfulness to the Hebrew people in the time of the book of the Exodus. It was at that time that God freed them from their slavery in Egypt, and it was a hope that God would come quickly and free them from all bondage and oppression. And so for centuries, the Jewish people have been seen as unusual or even unacceptable by so many. They have often been ridiculed and blamed and attacked and oppressed. And in Jesus' day, this was especially true. The Romans had conquered the Jewish people, and the Passover meal, the Seder meal, was a reminder of God's love for his people and his desire for them to be free. It is a reminder of his promise to them. And yet, in the middle of this celebration, that's when Jesus tells his disciples that he's looking forward to this meal because it's the last time that he's going to be with them. He even goes a step farther, explaining that one of them will betray him. Basically, he tells them that he's going to die, and one of them will be responsible for it. And I don't think they really get it yet. I don't think they fully understand what Jesus is telling them. But they get that something bad is going to happen. And they understand that someone they love and they trust is going to be the cause. But who could it be? I mean, it couldn't be any of them. They trust one another with their lives. As you might imagine, once the statement gets brought up by Jesus, once those accusations start to fly, the defensive walls start to come up. I mean, there's Peter arguing it could never be him. He would never fall away from Jesus. He was part of Jesus' inner circle. He was the one who declared that Jesus was the Christ. And you know, it couldn't be John. I mean, John is known as the beloved of Jesus. He's also a member of the inner circle. Andrew, well, it couldn't be Andrew. I mean, he believed Jesus from the very beginning. He was one of the first. In fact, he was the one who brought Peter to Jesus in the first place. And it certainly wasn't even Judas. I mean, they trusted Judas to guard their money. He was the one who kept all of the money that they needed when they traveled. He was always so concerned about helping the poor, even while he held that money. And to prove that they weren't the betrayer that Jesus is talking about, they began to talk over each other, explaining how great and devoted they were now and would continue to be once the kingdom of God had come. From an outsider's point of view, man, it looks like the evening has now reached its ultimate low. I mean, fighting among friends, and their teachers just told them that they're about to die. But Jesus takes this moment and he gently corrects them. He makes them stop and think about what it really means to be the greatest in the kingdom of God. They must be servants to each other. Servants to each other. It isn't about having lordship over someone. It's about servanthood and being a servant to someone. And I want you to notice something really important about this meal and the depth of Jesus' servanthood. It is something that is often overlooked. I mean, we like to talk about Jesus sharing his last meal with his friends. And we like to talk about Jesus serving the disciples. And we even like to talk about Jesus' sacrificial love for us, the gift of salvation that he is offering if we accept his sacrifice of body and blood. But we forget that line. The hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. Judas is present when this offer of salvation is made through the symbols of the bread and the cup. Jesus is knowingly sharing a meal, his last meal, with the very person who is betraying him. Judas is eating with Jesus. And we skip over this detail, I think, for two reasons. First, we are uncomfortable with the idea of someone sharing their last meal with the one who will betray them. And second, I think we fail to understand the significance of eating a meal with someone. In the Middle East, to enter into someone's home and to share a meal with them is an act of trust and hospitality. It says, I accept you and I honor you. For Judas to be present at this meal is unacceptable by Middle Eastern standards, especially since Jesus invited him to be there. As we ponder the importance of Jesus' mandate to love one another as he has loved us, let us be reminded that Jesus loved even his betrayer so much that he welcomed him to the table, that he might speak love and encouragement to him one more time. And as we consider the sacrifice of the cross as we move into Good Friday tomorrow, let us be reminded that his grace was extended to Judas as well. And as we consider the gift of Jesus' resurrection, let us be reminded that he wanted Judas to receive that gift just as much as those who remained faithful to his message in the end. It is my prayer that you will understand that you have been declared worthy of Jesus' love, and that we will have that love in our own lives in the same way that Jesus showed love in his. I pray that you have a blessed and joyous Maundy Thursday as we celebrate the love of God and live that out in our lives.